We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. First, OUTshine LGBTQ Film Festival returns with 55-plus films, premieres, and community celebrations across Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and online this October.
Oh, and next, South Florida's LGBTQ community unites on October 18th for PRISM Gala, honoring queer activism with performances, exhibits, awards, and celebration.
Next, a new study highlights LGBTQI+ stroke survivors' overlooked challenges with intimacy, revealing barriers, adaptations, and an urgent need for inclusive rehabilitation.
Next, parents seeking online guidance about gay children may be steered towards the anti-LGBTQ group Focus on the Family, promoting restrictive and harmful views.
Next, over 200 men arrested in Penn Station restroom sting. LGBTQ leaders warn of discriminatory policing, ICE detentions, and historic entrapment echoes.
Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. And in 2025, our queer stories have reached 11 million streaming views. And Queer News Tonight has been the most watched LGBTQ news and lifestyle show in the world this year. We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, October 2nd. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Happening Out is one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community. We support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community, and we want to inform and educate on the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture.
Our magazine is celebrating 40 years of LGBTQ experience. Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 11,000 LGBTQ streaming stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fete. Our nonprofit 501c3 magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader communities.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Yvonne Rohrbacher. Yvonne is a 35-year activist in South Florida and was the founding vice president of our Pride Center. She currently volunteers and supports the Women's Fund at Stonewall Museum and Library and other local groups. Yvonne has recently joined SAGE as a Friendly Visitor Program Coordinator for Broward County. Yvonne, Funny Fortunes with Diane George lights up Equality Park on October 10th. Tell me what's happening out.
I'd love to. On Friday, October 10th, the Pride Center at Equality Park in Wilton Manors, Florida will host an evening of comedy, theater, and improvisation from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The event will be organized by the Lesbian Thespians as part of their Seen and Heard fundraiser series, which supports women-led theater. Comedian Diane George will headline the night with a 2-part performance. First, she will bring Solovella, a one-woman improvised telenovela, to life by playing every character on stage with her signature wit. Afterward, she will continue with Mercado de la Fortuna, a fortune-telling comedy act filled with humor, spontaneity, and audience engagement. Lesbian Thespians is a South Florida-based inclusive nonprofit performing arts community founded and led by women. Tickets and details about the event will be available through Lesbian Thespians social media pages. You can easily find them on Instagram and Facebook as Lesbian Thespians. And I cannot wait for this. I have been off and on part of or supporting the Lesbian Thespians since they, unfortunately, just before the COVID shutdown, were founded, and they've brought so many different women led, written, produced, directed plays and other types of live entertainment over that 5 or 6 years that they've been in. And this one happens to be a fundraiser for them, so that's going to be really great.
And it's great that they're doing it like the day before National Coming Out Day.
Yeah.
I think that's just a great way to like start that whole weekend.
Absolutely.
Thank
you.
I think anybody who's poking fun at Walter Mercado, the psychic Puerto Rican, I think they've got my money for that ticket.
Great. Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Funny Fortunes with Diane George on October 10th. Let's welcome Kevin Lee. He's a 3-time best-selling author, transformational speaker, and intuitive life coach. This native Texan is on a mission to help you find life, purpose, spiritual fulfillment, and true happiness. Kevin, the Messages from Heaven monthly event is back on October 17th. Tell me what's happening out.
Well, on October 17th, I'll be welcoming you to Messages from Heaven at Unity Fort Lauderdale from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Now, the doors will be open early at 6:30 p.m., and that's just to give you a little bit of time to settle in and prepare for a very special evening. As your host and spiritual intuitive, I will actually be guiding you into a sacred space of inspiration and divine possibilities. During this event, Spirit will work through me to share uplifting messages, intuitive guidance, and healing energy with the audience. Some of you will be chosen at random to receive direct messages from Spirit, and while I cannot guarantee everyone will receive a personal message, I know that each heart will be touched. And for those of you who join as VIP guests, well, you will have the joy of sitting in the front row and receiving an answer to one of your most pressing questions that you bring. And I look forward to sharing this powerful evening with all of you. So for more details, please visit IamKevinLee.com or search Messages from Heaven in your Facebook events tab. Now, this event is something that I created over the last few years because I found a lot of people that were coming to my ministry were in a place of needing healing. They just needed community. They needed a little bit of hope. And I think what I bring is heart, hope, and healing to a community at a time of struggle. And definitely in times of struggle with societal and political things, I think it's much needed.
I think a lot of people right now feel on a regular basis, I wish I could go somewhere where my own heart and mind could just be quiet, maybe be healed a little bit, maybe just open up my viewpoint a little bit and relax a little. And it sounds like they would get that and more from attending.
They sure will.
It sounds awesome.
They sure will.
And we always have so many wonderful people from the community coming to this church for different events. It's probably going to be an amazing time.
It will be. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Messages from Heaven monthly event on October 17th.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of OUTshine magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. I've been accused of doing worse things, and I'm just so excited to be here tonight because we have so many great stories to look at. You know, I think it's going to be great to talk about the way the sad issue of police brutality and then dealing with groups like Google, but also we have some great things like the OUTshine Festival to discuss tonight. Either of you have a great story you can't wait to discuss?
We've got a lot. I mean, I want to talk about New York City, but it's not our most fun one. So even more fun are some of the things that are benefiting women that are going on this month, like the one we just discussed.
Right. I'm looking forward to OUTshine because for me, queer culture and international films, when you put those two together, I dig it. I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for them to come back.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up South Florida. OUTshine Film Festival's fall edition returns with bold lineup amid growing attacks on LGBTQ communities.
This October, OUTshine lights up South Florida with one of the world premiere LGBTQ+ film festivals. With over 60 films from around the globe, filmmaker Q&As, and lively after-parties, OUTshine is more than a festival. It's a celebration of culture, community, and pride. Whether in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, or from home, don't miss your chance to laugh, cry, and connect at the OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. Tickets on sale now at OUTshineFilm.com.
In a time when rainbow crosswalks across Florida are being erased, one festival is sending a very different message. The OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival is standing taller than ever, returning for its 17th annual fall edition with a powerful lineup of queer storytelling, world premieres, and celebrations of community. The festival runs October 16th through the 23rd in Fort Lauderdale, October 24th through the 26th in Miami, and October 27th through November 2nd online through OUTshine's at home. This year's opening night film is Blue Moon, starring Ethan Hawke. Described as a moving portrait of love, memory, and longing set on Broadway's most historic night, the premiere will take place at Savour Cinema in Fort Lauderdale, followed by an after-party at Martha and More. The festival closes with Jimpa, starring John Lithgow, a heartfelt family drama screening at Silver Spot in downtown Miami, with a festive after-party in partnership with the Miami Film Festival. Beyond the marquee screenings, OUTshine is known for its community favorites. The popular Cocktails and Cinema series returns with 4 stars, Bear Week Diaries, and a 25th anniversary screening of Psycho Beach Party, complete with a retro-themed bash. Shorts programs highlights diverse and powerful stories from LGBTQ+ filmmakers, with separate spotlights on men's, women's, and a Best of Shorts compilation. In total, the fall edition will showcase more than 55 films, including 21 premieres from over 25 countries. Among the highlights, the world premiere of Red Light, a local production, the international premiere of Tethered Wings, and North American premieres of Brown Girls and Boys, 4 stars, Out of Love, and Away. East Coast premieres will include introducing audiences to films like Newborn, Only Good Things, Army of Lovers, and My Heaven, Your Hell. Tickets and passes are already on sale at OUTshine.com, where audiences can find the full program and trailers. This looks like one of the most fun events to do this fall. First off, just looking at the pictures of half of the actors without their shirts off, I'm already sold. You've already sold me on a ticket right there. And then just to see the sheer number of films, the content, the different times you can go, it's wonderful. And I love how they don't just do it in Miami. They don't just make it say, oh, only Miami. They also have a Fort Lauderdale option. Yep. And I really appreciate that. I know it's only a 20-minute drive, but sometimes I'm lazy, that's all.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I had so much fun watching the opening movie with the scenes. I saw so many friends and family in there, and that's because we all make sure we get to this thing every year. It said 17 years as OUTshine, but before that, wasn't there about the same amount of years where it was just called the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival? Some of the same board members, believe it or not, are actually still there that were there back then, and it just gets better and better and better and better. And when I saw our friend Alexis, who's a relative of Cindy Brown, that has been working for OUTshine probably since before it was called OUTshine, as a high school intern and then a college intern, and then she's been their marketing director ever since. It's just become such an amazing tradition here, and no matter what the roadblocks, it just keeps getting bigger and better.
I love OUTshine. Over the years, I've gone to a few of the shows. Again, like I mentioned, I love international film, queer culture, blending in both of them. I actually love the going to other cities to see the films, because how often do we barely drive 20 minutes out of our neighborhood to go do anything? Yeah. So for me to get to go to another city, I get my visa out, maybe my passport, I go down to Miami.
Exactly.
Little fun time out.
Yeah, I was glad to see they're actually doing such a close proximity of dates, of locations, because what they had been doing is, let's have a Fort Lauderdale festival, and then let's have a Miami festival, and separating the dates wide apart. I like this new format where, they're a couple
Logistically,
couple of days
that can be very hard, because you think spreading it out works, but then in the end it really doesn't, because then you have to start up from scratch all over
more
again.
Big events throughout the calendar year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea that they had. And I'm sure it was Alexis's. Anyway, now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Yvonne Rohrbacher, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida every day. PRISM Gala 2025. It celebrates queer resistance with a punk-inspired night. This October, South Florida's LGBTQ community will gather for an evening of celebration, History and Activism. The PRISM Gala 2025 takes place Saturday, October 18th from 6 to 11 p.m. at ArtServe in Fort Lauderdale. This year's theme, Queer as Punk, A History of Resistance, pays homage to the grassroots spirit of past queer movements. Organizers say the inspiration comes from Riot Girl and feminist punk eras, times when community members fought on the front lines for equality. No different now. The gala promises a full evening of entertainment, dinner, interactive exhibits, and a silent auction. An awards ceremony will recognize those carrying forward the fight for equality, followed by an exclusive after-party. For details, tickets, and ways to support youth-led advocacy, visit prismfl.org. Well, that just sounds like such a fun night, and that organization, again, has come so far, so fast. We really need it, and for them to do a night like this that's just all about celebration so people can really recognize the org is really cool.
And they're spot on for the times. You know, Queer as Punk, that's exactly what the sort of thing we need right now. You know, people forget, Stonewall was a riot. You know, we are, resistance is not always easy or clean. Sometimes it's very messy and chaotic. Can't think of anything more fun and messy and chaotic than a bunch of queer punks. So, sounds like a great time.
Yeah, I agree. It may be a throwback, but it's a throwback to we really had to stand up, because here we go again.
I appreciate that ArtServe is hosting this, because they're really the center of the community, also in addition to the Pride Center, but as a place that supports our community. And I like that media is going to be presented there. I've seen all types of media. I've held events there myself.
Yeah, me too.
So I really appreciate ArtServe for what they do in our community and how they represent us. It's safe space, and we need more of that.
Yeah, I agree completely. They're great about that.
So many of the events that we talk about on the show are done at or around ArtServe. They're such a great center.
Well, and of course, our Stonewall National Museum and Library is right there at the building.
Right.
So we do a lot of cool things in the bigger parts of the ArtServe building for them as well.
Exactly.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Kevin Lee, and let's queer up health. Groundbreaking study explores how LGBTQ stroke survivors experience sex and sexuality after stroke. A new qualitative study is giving long overdue visibility to how LGBTQI+ stroke survivors and their partners experience sex and sexuality after stroke. Using interpretive phenomenological analysis, researchers interviewed 18 stroke survivors and 5 partners across the United States, UK, Canada, and New Zealand, finding 4 recurring themes: changes in sexual functioning, shifts in sexual activity and behavior, relationship strain, and barriers to LGBTQI+ community access. Most participants reported negative changes. One gay man shared, "Because my left leg was paralyzed, I couldn't really sit up or kneel or, assume any other particular position, and just became harder both for me and for any other partner." Another participant said, I'm now suffering a bit of erectile dysfunction. I didn't know I was, and I was quite obviously embarrassed by it." But not every story was about loss. Some couples adapted positions, pace, or embraced non-penetrative intimacy. Others negotiated ethical monogamy to meet the needs. And yet many described role shifts from partner to caregiver and feeling excluded from queer spaces due to disability, fatigue, or accessibility hurdles. Authors say the findings should reshape sexual rehabilitation, which too often assumes heterosexual norms. Recommendations include training clinicians to discuss LGBTQI+ specific concerns, from PIA to consent after brain injury, addressing body image and confidence, and co-designing support with survivors. So how can we help? Well, spread the word and follow the project on Facebook or Instagram at Stroke LGBTI Research. You can also participate in the research if you are 18+ adult who lives in Australia, New Zealand, the United States, Canada, or the United Kingdom, who identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, or intersex, and who has experienced a stroke or is the partner of someone who has. Participation involves one-on-one interview with the study's lead, Mr. William Koke, a PhD candidate at the Sydney School of Health Sciences, to learn more. This study has been approved by the Human Research Ethics Committee at the University of Sydney. Koke hopes this research will service the needs and preferences that should shape sexual rehabilitation. So support truly helps LGBTQI+ stroke survivors and their partners. You know, what's interesting to me about this story is that these couples who have gone through a difficult time, with my background in nursing as a nurse anesthetist, a nurse practitioner, and 35 years in the industry, I see the trauma in families after stroke. And what I like about this story is that they've actually gone beyond typical heteronormative relationship, and they're willing to consider ethical non-monogamy. I guess that's the best way to say it. And so they're having conversations that are difficult, that are sometimes taboo. It brings up fear, it brings up some boundary issues. But I think it's super appropriate for our community to be having these discussions at a time when really the gay community is blossoming and flourishing in different ways. So I really salute the couples that are willing to step back and meet the needs of another person over themselves, and to support someone's sexual needs when the other partner cannot.
I think that making that and keeping that long-term commitment is not as easy and flawless as people would think. And you're right. People have to be willing to have difficult conversations and go beyond that. Oh, but I thought I was going to get this out of the relationship, and I thought it was going to stay like this. You know, the most mature and freeing relationships are going to try to break out of that. And it sounds like a lot of the people in this study have discussed that. Yeah. I'm just really glad somebody studied it. You know, it's really hard in this country to get them to study anything about medical or health concerns that have something not to do with a cisgender heterosexual white man.
Exactly.
Of any kind. So yeah, this came from Australia, but at least there were some Americans that were involved in it, and just anything that's outside of that little capsule, like the rest of the people that you see, you know, finding ways that we can discover how to accommodate these things and really heal.
Love it.
I think it's awesome.
I'm glad that it's an ongoing study, because, you know, first, when I see, you know, media too often will report something that says it's sort of a medical study. This is not a medical study. Obviously, I don't want to, like, say that for anyone. But, like, they'll show, like, 10 or 20 people. It says X. I'm like, that's not a real study. That's like a first trial. And, like, to see the PhD student have, like, 18 people.
There weren't a lot.
But it's nice to see that they're still doing it. But, like, I will, just as a former grad student, my concerns with the study are, like, well, you know, you're comparing different health systems that are very different. So, like, the way people are treated in the United States is very different from the UK, Australia, and Canada systems. So I'm a little like,
those are better.
What have your PhD dissertation professors been talking to you, and, like, how are they making sure your study is working properly? That would be my question for him. But at the same time, like, you know, it is very hard to find participants who are both stroke survivors, the partner of a stroke survivor who's also queer and willing to talk about their sexuality. So
they probably looked for a long time to get that 18 people.
Exactly. So, like, I've given them a hard time, but I know, like, I feel you. We've all been there with these sorts of studies. But, like, it's great to see them do it. And also, like, while I don't want to say that the study proves anything, I do have a feeling that it's very accurate that in the United States, for queer people that suffer from disabilities, they have a hard time being welcome in our spaces. And I do think we have to talk about that a lot more as a society.
That's an excellent point.
Good point.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up faith. Does Google refer Christians with gay children to focus on the family, gay conversion therapy? You may be surprised or disturbed by what happens when families search Google for advice about having a gay child. Some search results are directing parents to focus on the family, a conservative Christian organization long known for opposing LGBTQ rights. One example comes directly from Focus on the Family's own website. A parent asked, quote, "What should we say to our college-age son who claims to be a gay Christian?" end quote. The response offered by Focus on the Family is deeply troubling to many LGBTQ advocates. The organization reassures parents their quote-unquote feelings are normal, end quote, but then goes further, recommending strict house rules that silence their gay son. The advice includes forbidding him from talking to younger siblings about his sexuality, banning any displays of affection while with a partner, and even suggesting parents prepare a written contract with their child if he wishes to stay at home. At one point, Focus on the Family urges parents to consider counseling, not to affirm their son's identity, but to reinforce what they describe as so-called biblical standards of morality. They advise parents to make clear that if their son cannot live by these restrictions, he should move out. Queer advocates say this type of advice promotes rejection rather than love. It echoes the discredited practices of conversion therapy, which medical experts widely condemn as harmful. The larger concern is whether Google's search algorithm is unintentionally funneling families in crisis towards these kinds of anti-LGBTQ voices. For queer Christians and their allies, the fear is when parents seek help, the first voices they hear may not affirm their child's identity, but instead instruct them to police it. The question now is, should Google be held accountable for where it sends vulnerable families looking for answers? Well, of course, everyone who views this knows that I, of course, blame the corporation first and foremost for how dare they do this. You know, Google and these other AI companies have been getting in a lot of trouble lately for how they've been directing people to deal with different issues. Yeah. One of the other large language model companies had a teenager asking about suicide, and the LLM urged him on. It was all in a court evidence. Like, these sorts of things are out of control. To see Google suggest you go to Focus on the Family, which the Southern Poverty Law Center designates an anti-LGBTQ hate group because they go after us. And people wonder, like, oh, well, they're Christian. It's all. No, it's all a front. Them, the Alliance Defending Freedom, the Heritage Fund, most of them are funded by something called the National Christian Foundation, which isn't Christian, folks. It's just a bunch of billionaires that put about $1 billion a year into a slush fund to go fund all these anti-queer, anti-woman, anti-choice organizations in order to try and keep you down as a person, whether you're queer, a woman, or just a worker, because these groups somehow always help elect anti-worker candidates, just somehow. It's a coincidence. It has nothing to do with the billionaires funding these sorts of groups.
I can't imagine that even with the words gay Christian in the search engine, in the entry, that they couldn't find other places to find websites that said Christian and gay on them besides Focus on the Family. I'm just astounded that they would think that's the first thing that should come up. There are plenty of gay Christian organizations up there. Why didn't they put the MCC on there first?
We're sitting in a pro-gay Christian organization right now.
And instead they push them toward one of the few organizations in this country that is still actively pushing for conversion therapy, actively pushing, as you saw, to say, oh, you know what? I understand, but get the fuck back in the closet. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, Steve.
You know, but that's part of the problem. It's interesting because it's easy to blame Google, but also you have to understand that these organizations that, the gay Christian organization, the Christian organizations that are very anti-gay, they are doing a great job with SEO marketing. They're doing a great job they have money to spend. So what does that say about our community who is not stepping up to do SEO marketing in their national organizations, in their media? Because if it's not coming up in the search results, there's a reason why it's not. So we have to do a better job also. So I really want to throw it out to our organizations nationally to really make an effort to make our media, make our websites, make our education a lot more SEO friendly.
I hear you, but that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I don't think people quite understand just how much money the National Christian Foundation has. Like groups like Focus on the Family, they get 20 to 30 million a year from that group every year. Just guaranteed. That's their first check. When I was at the National LGBTQ Task Force, we struggled and begged all these different groups, all these rich people, to get maybe $6 million a year.
Right.
I think HRC might get like $40 million a year if they're lucky. Right. You know, there's no big group of billionaires that fund, like We Like Queer People group, $1 billion annually
and we have so
to
much
disperse
more
to
money
all of our friends
than we used to have, but it's still not enough sometimes to. You're right. That's exactly what happened. Is they got in front of the MCC churches and whatever else is out there. There's tons of other organizations out there, but you're right. The SEO probably pulled it that way.
And federal grants are being cut. I mean, look locally. The Pride Centers lost quite a bit, several hundreds of thousands of dollars of grant funding. And so that really impacts our community. So what's happening in all the other communities across the country?
Yeah,
exactly. And before people think I'm all like, hope is all lost, you know, you don't always have to use money. Knock on doors, organize, be part of your community, and demand better.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Yvonne Rohrbacher, and let's queer up gay culture. New York City lawmaker warns Amtrak crackdown on cruising sites revives dark days of gay entrapment. A gay elected official in New York is sounding the alarm after a series of arrests at a Penn Station bathroom has reignited memories of a painful chapter in queer history. Last week, the city revealed that the Amtrak Police Department, a federal police force that operates outside New York City's sanctuary laws, has been conducting sting operations in a Penn Station restroom. The bathroom was listed as a hotspot on the queer hookup app Sniffies, which means somebody's been looking at it. Since June 1st, more than 200 arrests have been made for public lewdness, and at least 20 men are now in ICE custody. State Senator Brad Hoylman-Segal, a gay lawmaker running for Manhattan Borough President, condemned the arrests, and he told OUT, "These arrests harken back to the dark days of trapping gay men and other members of the community in public spaces like restrooms." Add to that toxic mix ICE and the Trump administration's efforts to round up undocumented New Yorkers or anybody else that they can. It was a rather frightening callback to a period that we thought had long passed in queer American history. Hoylman, along with Representative Gerald Nadler, State Senator Liz Krueger, and Assemblymember Tony Simone, sent a letter on Friday to Amtrak President Roger Harris, demanding that the sting operations end. Hoylman confirmed Harris had agreed to meet with them. Okay. Separately, City Council members Eric Botcher and Tiffany Caban also pressed Amtrak for answers, calling the reports deeply alarming violations of civil rights, due process, and protections against discriminatory policing. Legal experts say the crackdown represents a broader attack on queer life. The controversy has raised questions about how far federal policing should go. Well, that's a common question these days, and whether New York is seeing a dangerous return to tactics once used to entrap queer men during the McCarthy era. Well, it certainly harkens back to that in anyone that's grown up in any size of a city. Well, unless they're not as old as me, know a time when that very regular raids on places where they thought gay men hung out and might be trying to have sex with each other would happen on a regular basis in most cities across the United States. And this is definitely just making me remember those kinds of horrible times in our history. It's talking about during the McCarthy era. I'm sure that they're thinking about the things that led up to the Stonewall riots at this point.
No, well, first of all, as someone who's known and worked occasionally with Senator Brad Hoylman for some workers' rights legislation, like, he's always been an amazing state senator to work with. He's been also a very proudly and unapologetically openly gay man. This is not the first time he's spoken out on LGBTQ rights issues in a way that you wouldn't necessarily expect a gay politician to talk about. But with this, some gay politicians might be afraid of talking about this, and I'm just glad that he just went there. And also, every time LGBTQ advocates and LGBTQ groups are like, oh, the police are our friends, and I keep trying to say, no, they're not. Policing is a very dangerous thing. America has seen this. We saw from Black Lives Matter protesters in 2020 reminding us that the police do not treat us very well in this country. And then, in New York, I know most of this is federal, but I'm not surprised that a state where the sitting governor thought the way to deal with occasional petty crime on the subway was to call in the National Guard.
Yeah.
And a president who then took that and said, well, let's really just put that on steroids as a nation. I'm not surprised to see any of this, but I'm glad to see Senator Hoylman calling it out. And also, Senator, if you're watching, congratulations on your primary win for Manhattan Borough President. I think you'd be a great borough president, and I hope that, more people start waking up to the fact that this is not a good thing. Even when I was at the National LGBTQ Task Force, we did signs when it came to police and gun violence. We did signs that said police plus guns equal death. Most queer activists did not want to touch that sign. I was like, no, it's accurate. It's accurate. People adapt it too much.
It is, and I'm thinking about all the entrapment and inappropriate ways that they found to say that somebody should be arrested for lewdness. All the things that have happened in the past. That they have to be doing that stuff. I'm sure they're using all kinds of slimy tactics.
You know, we have bigger issues in this country, in this world
That's for
even.
sure.
And society is really under attack. I feel like, you know, from a spiritual perspective, I truly feel like there is something oppressing the planet on a spiritual level, because it really, when we are oppressed in that way and the light is dimmed, there's this sense of a need to rise up and shine. It breaks my heart that we're dealing with this still. I grew up in an era, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but actually in Texas, I remember as a child, probably I was about 9 years old, and I saw in our local school yearbook that there was an ad about Home of the Hanging Tree. And it broke my heart because it just reminded me of communities that I was drawn to, that I could tell they were outsiders, but they were being literally threatened in the media. And it broke my heart. This reminds me of that, which is surprising. I haven't thought of that in many years.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully all those people that we saw on that list, not just one openly gay person, but about 7 other folks that are in positions of power, are going after this. And I hope that they're able to suppress some of the, I'm sure, like I said, slimy tactics and just people that just have the prejudices fueling what they're doing.
And hopefully it goes farther, where the State House investigates, and hopefully a future New York City mayor, maybe a Mandani of some kind.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbians and queer women.
Okay.
The Skirt Foundation awards 2025 Women's Economic Advancement Grants to Trailblazing programs. The Skirt Foundation has announced the winners of its 2025 Women's Economic Advancement Grants, awarding $2,000 each to 3 organizations driving change. The League of Women Voters Broward Education Fund will expand its Margaret McGrath Leadership Program, training local leaders to address voter disparities. Black LGBTQ Liberation Incorporated received funding for the Access Granted program, offering skills-based workshops and microgrants to help BIPOC LGBTQ plus women sustain community initiatives. And Women Veterans Giving was honored for its entrepreneurship training program, empowering veterans and military spouses, especially LGBTQ plus women, to achieve economic independence. The foundation will open applications for 2026 grants soon. For more details, you can visit theskirtfoundation.org. And to me, when I think of economic justice, I think of a $2,000 grant per organization.
Do you now? Because that's fantastic. The Skirt Foundation is exactly 1 year old, completely women-led and women-staffed. And so in that 1 year, they were able to take a shot at getting 10 or 20,000 to give away for their first time. And I'm so proud of them. I'm actually in charge of their women's resource website committee, that they're wanting to put up a women's resource committee. And I'm finding that the ladies that run it have not been in South Florida for a really long time, and they bring perspectives from other major cities around the country, and they came and said, what do we need here? And what I was really so favorably impressed with was how they got the word out, not to just, well, what are the lesbian organizations in town, or who's really helping women, and if they're allies, or they may be indirectly helping LGBT women, or they just naturally include them. Hey, let's give them some money if they're doing something that we know is going to help all women, and ultimately also LGBT women. So I had never heard of two out of 3 of those organizations until they found them and got them to apply for these grants. And it just expands our voice in the greater women's community in South Florida as well, that a foundation that's led by lesbians and intended to be lesbian focused expanded their grant offerings to all these different people.
Actually, I love the fact that that's women organizations. You know, in my audiences and congregations that I serve, my client base, it's predominantly women, like 85%.
Yeah.
Love women. I'm very much for women's empowerment. And I think these organizations, I think these community fundraisers and all the things that support financially, things like this, we need more of it, because too often, there's always male-oriented or gay male organizations that seem to be receiving, and I like to see more women, more things of color and things like that.
Yeah, me too. The Skirt Foundation is partially funded at this time by our fund, but they have been able to locate quite a few of the women that quietly have enough money to help them fund even bigger grants for next year. And those women in our community aren't necessarily as easy to find as the gentlemen who are blessed in that financial area, but they have fortunately found quite a few of them. They dig a little deeper than any of the organizations I've seen in the past in our community that are here to support women. So I'm very proud of them. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. Tina Romero's queer horror debut, Zombie Apocalypse, led by drag queens. Wow, just in time for Halloween, horror royalty brings a queer twist to the apocalypse. Tina Romero, daughter of George Romero, the legendary creator of the Living Dead series, makes her featured directorial debut with a Brooklyn-set zombie saga like no other. The film follows drag queens, club kids, and queer icons battling brain-thirsty, scrolling undead during a warehouse party gone wrong. Co-written with Aaron Judge, the film stars Katie O'Brien, Jackal Spivey, Nina West, Dominique Jackson, Margaret Cho, and more. Catch its West Coast premiere October 5th at Beyond Fest in Santa Monica or nationwide October 24th. The trailer's out now. Wow, that sounds really fun. What a great time of year to get it out there.
You know, I remember there was the book Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, and this sounds more like Zombies, Prejudice, and Twinks, and I'm all for it.
It sounds like a good three-way for me because me and my husband love to do date night with drag queens. So who doesn't love drag queens and club kids? So I love that. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. Bad Bunny is the Super Bowl headliner America needs. Bad Bunny is facing conservative backlash after being announced as the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show headliner. Critics claim he should not headline the Super Bowl after refusing to tour the U.S., but the Puerto Rican superstar has performed on SNL and just finished a residency that boosted Puerto Rico's economy by $400 million. Detractors also accuse him of pushing the woke ideology, but fans know Bad Bunny has long challenged reggaeton's toxic masculinity, donning drag in Yo Perreo Sola, honoring murdered trans woman Alexa Negron Luciano, and embracing a queer visibility. He is not an artist who hates the world or who the world hates. He's exactly the artist America needs right now. You know, I think that's really true. I love the fact that there's some gender bending going on by a male figure singer, musician, this great talent. He's also willing to blur sexuality lines. I think he's also willing to blur the heteronormative lines. Like there's so many areas that I think he's really breaking and stepping into, and I can see why it triggers something in the conservative side of the world, and I like that.
I'll be honest, I only learned the difference between Psycho Bunny, the store, and Bad Bunny this week, so I'm still catching up, but everything I've learned about him seems fabulous. The only thing I watch on the Super Bowl is the halftime show, so I'll get to know a lot of him then.
Ditto. And welcome to 2025.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News, let's queer up entertainment. Madonna's bombshell interview on suicide and forgiving her gay brother. For the first time in her trailblazing 40-year career, Madonna sat down for a podcast interview, joining On Purpose with Jay Shetty. The Queen of Pop, 67, spoke candidly about her spiritual life, her 2023 near-death hospitalization, visions of her late mother, and new music. Most poignantly, she revealed reconciling with her gay brother, Christopher Sion. Once her dancer and tour art director, Christopher wrote a tell-all book in 2008 that fractured their relationship. Madonna revealed they reconciled before his death last year. He was 67. She said, "I wrote a song about him," noting, "Fragile and Forgive Yourself were inspired by their healing." The icon's vulnerable stories mark a bold new chapter in her legendary journey. You know, I think she's a very more complicated figure than most of us realizing the queer community is always like, oh, she's great. I'm like, she's complicated. Like, I've seen what Cher has said about her, and that to me has always made me more standoffish with Madonna. But at the same time, like, she's had some really hard struggles the last few years. So it's just, so sorry for her.
Yeah, I think it's a first for her to just be herself and go and do an interview like that. Mm-hmm. We're so used to everything being performative and planned and themed.
Polished.
Yeah, to the point where you don't really know who's behind all that I was quite impressed with that. Also, her newest version of plastic surgery looks really good.
Right? Who's her doctor?
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, she wasn't getting great work, but I thought that was great work.
I like that she is, you're right, you talked about how everything's so polished with her. She definitely has fought for the oxygen to live on the planet, because so many people have come at her, but yet she always rises up. It's like her life seems to be going up a mountain for her light. And I like that she led us behind the curtains, and she allowed us to see a little bit of heart finally. And, the reconciling with her brother and sharing some of the topics, issues of suicide, issues of maybe mental health within family and that kind of a structure. We don't get that too often.
I was just going to say, I mean, she says that the brother wrote a tell-all book. I didn't read it. But for her to just be open and sincere and genuine, I really have never seen her do that. Mm-hmm. So pretty impressive.
Well, I just want to say one last thing. I will always defend a tell-all book, people. Never a bad thing.
No, I mean, now I'm curious. Now I just might have to read it. We'll see. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Networking meets casino night to benefit LGBTQ plus nonprofits in Fort Lauderdale. The Greater Fort Lauderdale LGBT Chamber of Commerce invites the community to a casino-themed monthly networking event. On Tuesday, October 21st, there's a special event proudly sponsored by the R Fund. Guests will kick off the night with $20 in casino credits, 2 complimentary beverages, that's one more than I usually need, and an evening of fun designed to spark new connections. This event will directly benefit 15 of our GFL-GLCC nonprofit members. Proceeds from table play will support groups like Lantera Florida, Equality Florida, Lucky Lightyear Foundation, the Yes Institute, and other chamber member nonprofits interested in participating. The more you play, the more you help strengthen LGBTQ plus nonprofits, making an impact locally. For further details, you can visit Go Gay Fort Lauderdale, just like it sounds, all one word, .com, gogayfortlauderdale.com. This sounds awesome and so super fun. The Chamber of Commerce has really expanded sort of their role in the community. They recently had some specific events just targeted toward the Women's Council in there, and they've just done all sorts of things that are social but intended to educate. They've done a lot of really awesome things this year.
Well,
very proud.
I just want to commend you for saying GFLGLCC. It's always the hardest acronym of any group in Florida. I know they're working on it. But also the fun thing, I don't think they might have even realized they're doing this, but like not that long ago, it was illegal to gamble and illegal to be a homosexual. So they're doing all the illegal stuff at that.
Good point. Love it.
Mixing it up. As a gay chamber member myself, I really love what they're doing. And
yes.
I like that they've got their hands in a lot of pots in the area. And I like that they're really opening doors for new opportunities just by them showing up in the community.
Yep.
They open doors.
I agree. And they're part of the national organization, as is the somewhat easier to say MDGLCC in Miami. And that is something that's just really strengthened in the last 10 or 20 years. And it's a wonderful coalition of these types of organizations across the country. So then they all get to support each other. It's wonderful.
Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ and ally community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. And this is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Alex Morash, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Yvonne Rohrbacher and Kevin Lee, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative and colorful and queer. Good night.